Hello everyone and welcome to another wonderful game from round 6 of this year's Sinquefield Cup. It is Alireza Firouzja versus Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, and well, not to spoil too much as it's a very short game, you will enjoy this one. And no, we still don't know what happened with Magnus and why he left. As soon as I know more, I will inform you. So let's check out the game. Alireza with the white pieces opens with c4. He goes for the English opening. e5 by Mamedyarov, g3 and knight to f6, the King's English variation, bishop g2, c6 and now knight to f3. Here d4 is by far the more popular move, but I think that it just enters positions that both know extremely well and is far too analyzed, so you can't really hope to achieve a lot. For example, something like e4, d5, bishop to b4, check, bishop to d2, now let's say queen e7 defends bishop e3 and so on. So it looks interesting, but as it's been played so many times, I believe Alireza feels that a knight to f3 will give him a bit more chances with the white pieces. So e4 now challenging the knight, knight d4 and pawn to d5 now. C captures and now not c captures but rather queen captures on d4, developing the queen early on, because now knight to c3 is impossible as the knight on d4 is hanging. So you could defend it with e3, but Alireza just brings the knight back. Knight to c2 and now queen to h5. Already you can see that Mamedyarov is ready to play some very aggressive chess here. So h3 preventing bishop to h3 and now queen to g6. It's a very good square for the queen. For one, it defends the pawn on e4, as you know, knight to c3 is coming, and for two, it prepares bishop to c5, and that will of course mean a lot. For example, bishop c5, you castle and then queen captures on g3, so it's a very active square for the black queen. So knight to c3, bishop to c5, and now as you guys know, you could try playing this many different ways, but like we said, if castles, then there's the immediately winning bishop captures on h3. That's the problem. It exposes the g3 pawn, and if bishop captures, queen captures and white gets checkmated. Bishop g2, knight g4, and that's pretty much it. But luckily Alireza watches my videos and he knows that in every position for white, b4 is always the way to go. So pawn to b4 attacks the bishop, bishop to b6, and now there is a game where knight to e3 was played, but here we have bishop to b2 by Alireza, and it is now, as of move 11, that we have a completely new game. So Mamedyarov castles, we have knight to e3 now, that's not a knight, we have rook to e8 and queen to c2 now, putting more pressure on the e4 pawn, but as it's already overprotected, it doesn't really matter. Knight b to d7 and now rook to d1. So still not eager to castle, and Mamedyarov plays a5. He wants to play captures and open up the a file for his rook. So Alireza plays b5 and now bishop to d4. The idea being that now if Alireza doesn't capture, Mamedyarov will play c5 and cement that bishop on d4. So rook to b1 and now pawn to c5. Now, like I said, cementing the bishop on d4, and here we have pawn to h4, preparing pawn to h5 in some lines. So Mamedyarov stops it, and now here Alireza could just castle and we have a completely normal game, or he could play something like b6, you know, if he's really adamant about sacrificing that pawn. Let's say knight captures, bishop a1 opens up the b file for the rook. So it's one way to keep things active, but he chooses knight c to d5, and this well, either he blundered or he maybe saw so deep and far into the future that he actually decided that this was good for him, but Mamedyarov just captures, knight captures on d5, knight captures and plays bishop captures on f2 check. And of course the problem is queen f5 check will win back the piece, and you've just allowed bishop captures on f2 for no reason. So okay, knight king captures, we have queen to f5 check, Alireza goes back, king to e1, and queen captures on d5, and all of a sudden the white king is unable to castle, and well, black should be a whole lot better. So rook to f1, Alireza brings the rook into the game. Alireza does have compensation, as the rook and the bishop are very strong here, but with some decent play shouldn't be a problem. And by decent play, of course, I mean you have to play a move like b6, and if Alireza tries something like queen to c3, you play f6, and then the position holds. The problem is, after Mamedyarov's next move, that's exactly what he cannot play. He plays knight to f8, and it makes sense. He wants sense to play knight to e6, then bring the knight to d4. If he can do that, he basically wins the game. But now Alireza plays queen to c3, and now the problem is f6 no longer exists. If f6 now, Alireza can just take it. Rook captures and f6, and if g captures, queen captures, there's no stopping checkmate here. There's no defense against queen g7 and queen to h8. If you try something like queen d7 to stop checkmate, you get queen h8 check, king f7, queen g7, king e6, and now bishop h3 is enough to just win the game for white. So Mamedyarov plays knight to e6, but it's such an ugly move to make. Now the knight must remain here to prevent checkmate, and while the knight is here, you can't really develop your bishop. Your rooks don't have a way of entering the game, and there's really no good gameplay here. So Alireza plays rook f4, beautiful move, attacks the e4 pawn, so you have to worry about that, and also it's just a very active square for the rook. You can't capture it, of course. If the knight moves again, you get checkmated. So here, Mamedyarov just has to accept that there is no saving the pawn. He has to play something like bishop d7, allow the capture, play queen d6, and the game continues. But this is something that often happens when you've had a winning position or close to winning, and your opponent suddenly equalizes. You feel like you still have the right, or rather the privilege to, whatever, to just still be winning in the position, even though that's not the case. So here Mamedyarov plays f5. He wants to defend everything and hopefully continue his attack, but now Alireza just plays d3. And now how do you play this? Again, the e4 pawn will fall. If you capture this, then just bishop captures on d5. You lose the queen, so that's impossible. What can Mamedyarov play? The only way to play this is queen captures on a2, and it's still not a fun way for Mamedyarov to do this, because after rook a1 attacking the queen, queen d5, d captures on e4. What do you play? You have to play queen d4, offer a queen trade, and now you are still in the game. For example, queen captures, knight captures, bishop captures, c captures, and now e captures on f5, undoubling, restoring material balance, and keeping a better position, as this pawn will now be weak. The white king will very easily go after it, so probably you will lose at least one pawn over the course of time, but that is the best way to play this. Mamedyarov played knight to d4. It's a very, very active move. Now you've activated your knight. You no longer have to worry about checkmate, but he misses one very important thing. Feel free to pause the video and try to find the only winning move for Alireza while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding this wild idea. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is pawn to e3. Very, very simple stuff, and that's exactly what Alireza played. And it seems like there's so much that you can do here with black. The reality is that there's really not, because even if you play something like knight f3 check, we just capture it, and checkmate is still being threatened. So you can't really play that. What can you play? If you go knight back to e6, now it's a completely different story, because the e4 pawn just falls. D captures on e4, and whatever you play is just lost. If you play queen captures on a2 now, just rook to a1, and your queen is trapped. There's no square for the queen. And even if you don't play that after d captures on e4, you could play f captures on e4, just bishop captures, and there's just no playing this. Queen d7, you're going to play rook to d1. You can go after the queen. If queen e7, bishop d5 now pins the knight. It's just disgusting. So after this e3 move, Mamedyarov played queen captures on a2 right away, but it's not much better. Rook to a1, queen back to e6, now d captures on e4, and he was in this position on move 28 that Shakhriyar Mamedyarov resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. If you capture, of course, it's just, a simple recapture, or rather capturing of the piece on d4, e captures on d4, and that's it. C captures, queen captures, your position is completely lost. Now you're down material. Checkmate is being threatened. If rook e7, rook captures on e4, you just fall apart completely. And other than that, after d captures on e4, you could play something like queen g6, hope to get some queen g3 action in, but still after e captures on d4, the queen guards the g3 pawn. And okay, you could play c captures, queen captures with check. Seems like there could be something there, but there would be a winning idea, and that is queen to f2, just defending everything. And after queen moves, now you're going to play rook to c1, you're going to push the pawn, you're going to there's really no way to play this for black. So I'm sure if Mamedyarov wasn't so disgusted with himself, he would have tried this and maybe continued playing because, well, if Alireza can blunder, so can Mamedyarov, and so can Alireza again. But I think he was just so mad at himself. That he just resigned on the spot. And it's a very good example of how, I mean, Alireza blunders this bishop captures on f2 idea. You think to yourself, okay, I can never lose this, I can only win this now, and then you just play this knight to f8 move, which allows this, makes f6 impossible, and you become very angry, and then you just, even though you could, like, the game is still equal, you could still play it, but it's, you know, it takes incredible mental capacity to go from a winning to not winning and still, you know, fight with you know, the same vigor you would be fighting as if your position was winning. So you know, something to consider maybe in your own games, not, you know, okay, not online ones, but maybe in real ones, you know, the classical ones, or, you know, if you can pull it off in blitz, even better. But yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely done by Alireza, who just comes back after a blunder like that. Here are the standings if you missed the previous video. So Wesley leading the tournament, followed by Fabiano Caruana, Alireza, and Yanni Pomnici with 3 points. With 2.5 points, Levon Hans and Linier Dominguez. With 2 points, Maxime Vacher-Lagrave and Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. Really not having the best tournament, with 1.5 point in last place currently. So yeah, once again, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, do check out the previous video where Wesley played against Hans Niemann. It was quite the game, or rather, Niemann played against Wesley. Wesley had the black pieces. It was a beautiful game. I would like to thank Wood, Paul Sretanovic, CSFI, Ravishing Reptiles YouTube, and Another Casual Coder for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Sinquefield Cup until it finishes. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.